You know, some ancient texts can feel kind of locked up, right? Almost impenetrable. But every now and then, if you find just the right key, a single verse can just unfold into this breathtaking picture. Today, we're going to unlock one of the most mysterious images in the entire book of Revelation. And here it is, Revelation 15, verse 8. Just let that sink in for a second. You've got a temple, God's own house, filled to the brim with His glory and power, but the doors are slammed shut. Nobody can get in. It's an incredibly powerful and, let's be honest, a really confusing scene. So, that's the big question, isn't it? Why would a place that's literally full of God's magnificent presence be completely off limits? It feels like a total contradiction. And that's the mystery we are going to piece together in this explainer. Okay, so where do we even begin with something like this? Well, with any ancient puzzle, you've got to go back to the source, right? Back to the original language. The clues to solving this thing aren't just in the story. They're baked right into the very words the author chose to use.
First things first, we need to look at the most important location in the whole verse, the temple. What exactly are we talking about here?
So the Greek word that's used here is naos, and this is a huge deal. It doesn't just mean the temple grounds or the whole big building. No, naos specifically means the inner sanctuary, the Holy of Holies. We're talking about the most sacred space you can possibly imagine, the very spot where God's presence dwells. Knowing that just makes the mystery even deeper. The one place of ultimate access is the very place it's been sealed off.
All right, next clue. This naos, this inner sanctuary, is filled with smoke. And this definitely isn't just, ordinary smoke from a campfire. See, in the Bible, this word for smoke, kapnos, it's got this incredible two-sided meaning that is absolutely essential for us to get. On one hand, it's always a symbol of the manifest glory and awesome holiness of God. But, and this is key, it's also the smoke that rises from an accepted sacrifice, a sign that sin has been atoned for. So this smoke represents both God's perfect presence and a perfect offering being made. And that leads us to, let's be honest, the most intimidating part of the verse. The temple stays closed until 7 plagues are fulfilled. Okay, so the word is plague. And yeah, we usually hear it as plagues, but the original meaning, it's much more personal, much more specific. A blow, a wound, a stroke. This totally reframes the idea, doesn't it? It shifts the focus away from some kind of widespread disaster and points us to a direct, targeted, singular act of judgment being carried out until it's completely finished. The temple is locked down while a very precise sentence is being served. Now, what's really interesting here is that this whole scene in Revelation, it's not some brand new idea that just pops up out of nowhere. This image of God's glory being so intense, so overwhelming that it makes His own sacred space inaccessible, well, we've seen this before. It's actually a powerful theme that echoes all through the Old Testament.
I mean, think all the way back to Moses at the dedication of the tabernacle in the wilderness. When God's glory comes down to fill it, not even Moses, the guy who literally spoke with God face to face, could get inside. The holiness was just too much.
And it's not a one-off thing. Fast forward a few centuries to when they're dedicating Solomon's incredible temple, and guess what? The same thing happens. The glory cloud is so powerful, so potent, that the priests, the very people's job it is to be in there, are literally driven out. They can't do their work in the face of that kind of presence.
And we see it yet again in the prophet Isaiah's amazing vision of God's throne room. The temple is filled with that very same glory smoke, a sign of God's perfect and overwhelming holiness. So, you see the pattern here? This isn't just some random event in Revelation. It's a profound biblical symbol for a unique moment of divine work that no human being is allowed to interrupt.
So we've got this pattern. We've seen this happen before. But here's the thing. This is the moment where everything pivots. The key to unlocking this whole thing isn't asking when this divine lockdown is happening, it's asking who those plagues, those blows of judgment, are actually aimed at.
And right here, this is where all those clues we've been gathering, the sealed-off sanctuary, the smoke of glory and sacrifice, the blows of judgment, this is where they all click into place. They're not painting a picture of some future wrath on the world. No, they are a powerful, symbolic vision of a singular event that has already happened, the atoning work of Jesus on the cross.
So let's just connect these dots one by one. The heavenly naos was shut because Jesus, our great high priest, was uniquely and completely alone, dealing with the judgment for all sin. Those plaga, those blows of divine wrath, they weren't being poured out on us. They were being absorbed entirely by him. He was the only one who entered that moment of separation to bear the curse for us. And that little tiny word until, that's the whole pivot point. Access was denied until the work was done. And on the cross, he cried out, "It is finished."
So what's the result? What happens the second that work is finished? Well, this right here. The book of Hebrews tells us that because of the blood of Jesus, we now have boldness, not fear, not restriction, but total, confident boldness to walk right into the naos, the holiest place. The very same temple that was sealed shut in Revelation 15 is now thrown wide open for every single one of us.
So, okay, this isn't just about solving some ancient biblical riddle. This interpretation radically transforms our understanding of where and how we connect with God today. The entire system, the whole architecture of worship, it is fundamentally changed.
And this chart, wow, it just lays out that huge shift perfectly. You see, it's a move from the outside to the inside. The Old Covenant, it was all about a physical building, animal sacrifices that had to happen over and over, and access was limited to just a select few. It was a system that could only cover sin temporarily. But now, because of the cross, the new temple is the human heart. Jesus' one-time sacrifice gives full access to everyone who believes, and our sin isn't just covered up, it's gone, removed forever.
And believe me, this isn't just some nice, poetic idea. The Apostle Paul gets super literal about it. He looks at the believers in Corinth and asks them, "Don't you get it? You are God's temple." That ancient promise from God to dwell in them, it's not fulfilled in a building of stone and gold, but in people. The ultimate reality is Christ in you, the hope of glory. That very same presence that filled the naos so intensely that no one could get near, now makes its home inside of us.
So, that closed temple, that big mystery we started with, the key was the cross all along. It was this profound symbolic picture of Jesus taking on our judgment all by himself, so that the way to God could be opened up forever. And the incredible result is that the smoke of his glory no longer fills buildings of stone, but temples of flesh and spirit. The question isn't how we can get into the temple anymore, it's the absolutely stunning realization that you are the temple.